Hello everyone, my name is Sophie and welcome back to a spooky Halloween triple video review. Happy Halloween to all those who are celebrating, and happy Halloween to Ellie Hazelwood, who has the honor of being today's and this year's Halloween special. Not that I've ever done one before, but she's the first, so that's great. Just like one of the books I read. Oh my god, it's called First, one of the books I read, and this is the first. I had the joy of realizing Ellie Hazelwood decided to publish 3 books in basically the span of 1 week. 2 were published on the 7th of October and 1 wasn't. I forgot. The other one was published on the 23rd of September, so it wasn't quite in a week, but for dramatic effect you will say it was a week because it's basically a week, right? I love that she did this because it gives me a lot of review potential, and that's what we're doing today. I will put the timestamps in the description box, so if you only want to hear about one of the books, feel free to skip forward. I recommend you listen to everything I have to say because I want to do different costumes for every section. I haven't done it yet. This is the first one I'm filming. I have to spoil it for you guys, so now you know what order I film it in. This is the first one. And of course I dressed up as a werewolf, okay? I know this cheetah print is a little bit deceiving. However, I also wanted to be comfy because my dad refuses to turn on the heating in the house because heating is so expensive, and so I'm a little bit cold. Love him, he turned it on, but you know, it turns off past 10 p.m. and it is past 10 p.m. so. I even have some hair here because I'm a werewolf. I hope you appreciate it and are excited for how I will look throughout the video. If you want to know what books I am reviewing today, it's Mate by Ellie they're all, wait, fuck, I don't want to say that. They're all by Ellie, okay, whatever. Mate, it was a full-length novel that came out on 7th of October. This is the first one we'll be reviewing. It's the sequel to Bride, basically. It's not exactly about the same characters, but the characters it's about already appear in Bride, which came out last year, and it was a vampire werewolf book. And this one is a werewolf book, so that's why I'm dressed up as one. A cheetah werewolf. I'm the Sigma. And then the next 2 books that we were reviewing were both short stories. One was just shy of 200 pages and the other one was just shy of 100 pages, so they're both pretty short. One of them is called Hot for Slayer. This one is about a vampire. And the other one is called First, as I spoiled earlier. And that one was actually a dystopia with Omegaverse, so we'll see what the fuck I'll do for that. Again, if you just want to watch the novella reviews or whatever, feel free to skip, but make sure to stay. So, with that being said, let's start with Mate, the first book. I'll give a little bit of an intro when I talk about each of the books, because that's what I do here. I have a long history with Ellie Hazelwood. I have not read all of her books, however, I have read most of her books, I would say. I can appreciate the fact that, we're gonna start a positive, that she is trying to veer into different directions and trying to do different things. Meaning she isn't afraid to write the same characters in different scenarios. Because at the end of the day, what bothers me most about her writing is that it really is always the same archetypes and characters just put into different positions. You could have like a game where it's like, which Ellie Hazelwood main female character said this, and you would not have a chance. If it was like some random joke, some random banter, you would not be able to guess it because all of them talk the same way. Some people appreciate that about her, I don't. One of the novellas, she was like, you can read this in 1 sitting, and I took 2 sittings, so take that. But I think that overall she's just a very safe writer, but also not very adventurous, just with the genres. But then she writes the same character, so is that really adventurous? You know what I mean? Obviously with Bride last year, she kind of as you would say in German, hat den Bock abgeschossen. I have no idea what that is in English, you just have to go with me here. She decided to write a paranormal romance. I will catch you up now on what Bride is or was. But I filmed a review on that one too if you want to watch it. I'll link it below. Matter of fact, let me just link all of my Ellie Hazelwood reviews down below. I probably won't do that because I'm lazy, but maybe I'll do it. Bride was about a vampire who was sent into the human world as collateral because all of the people on this planet Earth are aware of the existence of vampires and werewolves. So they all just live kind of alongside each other, but not really. There's different territories, but everyone's aware of each other. And to make sure that the vampires don't attack the humans or something, they send a vampire as collateral, and it was her, and she's like the daughter of a vampire noble. This is all from the recollection of my own mind. I'm really trying here. I'm trying really hard. I barely remember what this book that I just read was about, okay? So give me some grace. She is sent there, and she lives with her best friend, Serena, who she just grows up with, and nobody really knows what her deal is. And the plot in Bride is that Serena gets kidnapped. So the main character's best friend gets kidnapped, and the kidnapped best friend is who this book is about. Mate. I don't think you need to really know anything about Bride other than, you know, that the character in this book is called Serena. She was in the first one, she was the one that was kidnapped. Turns out she's a werewolf hybrid, and that is kind of the vocal point of this story, the fact that she is a werewolf hybrid. Half human, half werewolf. They didn't know that was possible, that they could procreate, and so obviously people are after her. They think she's a symbol of unity. Some people think, oh my god, well, mostly the vampires think like, oh my god, now they're gonna attack us, the humans and the werewolves, because they can procreate and they can't procreate with us, whatever. We'll see about the next book. The reason I say that the Bride book was controversial, at least for Ellie Hazelwood, is because if you don't remember, there was nodding in it. If you don't know what nodding is, when a werewolf alpha has sex, I don't know if he has to have sex with his mate or just like anybody. His dick becomes like really big and he can't pull it out. It inflates like a balloon. A lot of people that read Bride just didn't know that that was a thing, which just proves to me that you guys only like these books because you didn't have a Wattpad phase. Why did I say it like that? Now I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to say I didn't read Omega Verse when I was younger and I still knew about it. How about that? I'm better than everyone. I'm kidding. I didn't like it. I didn't like any of Ellie Hazelwood's books. This one was particularly boring, so let's get into it. Before we get into it, one more thing that I have to mention. My marketer. Marketing hard. Because as everybody knows, I am now officially graduate of a bachelor's degree in marketing. I know what I'm talking about. The fact that she has published a book now named Mate, and one of her previous books is called Checkmate. Check and Mate. Terrible decision. I don't know why her team allowed that to happen. Out of all of the names she could have given this book, terrible CEO. Like, no one is going to be able to search this book out properly. Having two books with the same or very similar titles is absolutely horrendous. Anyway, just another proof that she's a little bit incapable. Also, the fact that this was only €6 on Kindle, I can appreciate that. Thank you. Oftentimes I pay like €20 for the books. They're on fucking Kindle. Give me a break. The book starts with a flashback, and I'm just gonna say this right off the bat so it's in the back of your mind the entire time I'm talking about these two characters. The main character, Serena, was rescued after her parents were murdered. She was 5 at the time. This is the prologue. And there's like a 15-year-old boy who saves her, like takes her out after her parents were murdered, and that 15-year-old boy is her mate, the main character in this book, called Cohen. So they've known each other since she was 5 and he was 15. This is not really explored further because they spend time apart, but it's weird as fuck. It's weird as fuck. She goes, he was death, who death would be if it were a person. I know you're trying to do this just to like underline what you were saying before, but I get it. Do you think my brows look ridiculous, by the way? I tried to make them more bushy. I feel really insecure. Which you can tell by my entire channel. We get this prologue where it's shown to us that he rescued her. Well, not really rescued. He killed her parents and then took her and put her into the human world, and she forgets all about that this happened because she was a child and it was traumatic. Grows up in the human world, gets kidnapped during Bride, gets rescued, and is now put with the werewolves. Oh my god, it's so confusing. She's put into the werewolf territory. Cohen is of course an alpha. There's different territories. He's an alpha of his territory. The dude from Bride was the alpha of his territories, and they're besties. And she's of course besties with the girl from Bride, whose name I forgot, and they hang out sometimes in this book. So we get a lot of recurring characters. We already met everyone. And we also found out in the first book in Bride that Cohen and Serena are mates. Yes! That's so fun. He is pushing 40 and she is barely 25, so it's a little bit of a weird situation and nothing I can... Listen, I know people, because I'm 24, I know people who are dating people in their 30s who are 24 and dating people who are like 35. I don't like it. Cohen makes it clear in Bride to Serena that he is her mate, and he assumes that only he is her mate, but she's not his mate, which is like, I didn't know that was a thing. And that he does not love her. He wants to fuck her really bad, like he's super attracted to her, he thinks she's so hot, he makes that clear, he like says it throughout the book, but there's nothing that's gonna make him fuck her, okay? Perfect. We get an amazing scene that reminded me, I'm so sorry, this is so cringe. You know that Sydney Sweeney interview that she gave, where she was like, I'm gonna name him Bob, this is Bob, and people made fun of it, rightfully so. Well, Serena is living segregated in the woods because she doesn't want to live with everyone. She wants to live alone. We don't find out why until later. We're just gonna go with it now. And there's a bunch of people, humans, vampires, doesn't matter, trying to get to her and kill her because they're ahead. Well, the vampires are paying money to get her killed, right? Because again, the whole unity thing. And so she's constantly trying not to get attacked. In this scene, however, she is getting attacked. The vampire finds her and wants to kill her. And luckily, for some random reason, Cohen manages to get there just in time, even though she's like 3 hours away from where everyone else is. He protects her from the vampire and he goes, you gotta tell me your name or I'll have to make one up. Any ideas, Serena? I clear my throat. I like Bob. Bob the vampire. Love it. That's crazy work. That's crazy work. And I think that this, like, I mean, I got immediate flashbacks to that fucking interview. Like, I heard her voice in my head when I was reading this. It just reminds me that Ellie Hazelwood doesn't have the kind of humor that I like. And I know it's for some people, just like some people think SNL is funny, which my European mind cannot comprehend. But that's fine. But Ellie Hazelwood is Italian, so what's going on? So this 45-year-old, no, he's 35. I'm exaggerating now. This 35-year-old man decides to say jizz muffin. Oh, I can't even say it. Jizz muffin. Like 3 times back to back. Is it even, it's back to back to back because of 3 times. And he keeps saying like twat waffles and shit like that throughout the book to insult the people trying to attack her and blah blah blah. It's like, that's crazy work. How am I supposed to respect someone who's using such language? It's cringe. Alpha protects, says a calm, rare voice that lives inside my bones. Alpha is home. Cohen is not like that. Why are we talking like we don't know language? Alpha protects, alpha home. Okay. May I ask about your hybrid diet and your musculoskeletal system and whether you mold in the fall? It's just like no one talks like that. Her gimmick is like always including, and she was also doing this in the fucking novellas, okay? Including clinical language and like talking about atoms and shit like that. And it's just like, it's her thing. Because, you know, all the neuroscience PhD and stuff and shit. How come all your characters think like that? No one would. No one would. It's not like Serena does anything. She doesn't have any hobbies. I think she's good in finance, actually. She doesn't do any math on page, but I just believe it. I turned 12 and our paths diverged. She became longer, graceful, ethereal. I, softer, rounder. Suddenly, my body burst. I bloomed into something with hips and breasts, and people, mostly adult men, would look at me in ways that hopscotched between uncomfortable and dangerous. Oh, she has huge tits. I really don't know what she's supposed to look like. I thought she was blonde, but she's not blonde. I think the vampire best friend is the blonde one. Doesn't make sense to me in my head, since when are vampires blonde? Except, of course, Eli? Who's that? I just completely made that up. I don't know who that is. Bob. He's not trying to cha-cha real smooth into my life. I meant what I said, killer, which he calls her killer because in the last book, in Bride, she killed like a bunch of people, turning into a werewolf. This mate thing is about fucking. The part of me that matters isn't interested in you. Like me or don't, he says kindly. I really couldn't care less. And that's him the entire fucking book. Which makes it even more insane that she completely lusts after him and like, I don't know. If it starts being like a subconscious thing where she's like, oh, but like he's hot and blah blah blah, but like I do kind of want to fuck him, but he's made it clear like he doesn't like me that way. And he keeps on rejecting her throughout the entire book, being like, no, I'm not gonna fuck you. Like, you're really fucking hot, but I'm not gonna do it. And she's like, I think I love him. I'm not making that up, by the way. That's how the book goes. Like 50%, and she's like, I love him. Okay. Don't thank me. Why? I fucking hate it. You hate to be thanked? Yep. Why? If I'm doing something, you can be sure that I chose to do it of my own free will. I don't really know what that explanation is supposed to mean. He doesn't like being thanked because he does it out of his own free will. People can still say thank you. Okay. Like, he seems to be having issues, you know what I mean? Like, that's a very minor thing to get mad about, and just a really, also, not a minor thing, but like a particular thing to get mad about. Like, if he's already that mad about people thanking him, I don't want to know what he's like in other aspects of life. While they were fighting off Bob, her shirt came undone, and 160 people marked this entire conversation. You're all nasty. Cohen, I'm almost fully asleep. My lid's too heavy to open. Yeah? I think you owe me an apology. For what? The way you stared at my tits. Silence. Then instead of the I'm sorry or go to fucking sleep I expect, he says, I think you owe me an apology. For what? How spectacular your tits are. I'm getting goosebumps because I fucking hate him. The reason she wanted to live in solitude, as I mentioned earlier, was because she thinks she's terminally ill. She has been experiencing major health concerns, like super intense headaches, sweating, sexual dreams in the middle of the night, and she has to jerk it after. She doesn't know what this means because since she was living in the human world without any werewolves around, only vampires around, she was never, and she learned later in life that she was a hybrid. She didn't even know at the beginning of her life. She doesn't know anything about like werewolf customs, or she's going into heat, right? And she doesn't understand that she's going into heat and she thinks she's dying because there's also a werewolf disease. Sorry, I keep wanting to say vampire. We're not talking about vampires. She keeps talking about like all of these symptoms, and I saw people be like on TikTok like, haha, I knew what was happening. Because you read the blurb? Of course, everybody knows. Everybody knows she's going into heat. She's not actually dying. There's a disease that has the same symptoms as going into heat. I don't know why that exists. She goes to, in total, 2 different doctors, werewolf doctors, that both don't know what is happening with her / misdiagnose her with, like, they're not telling her you're going into heat, they're saying, like, this terminal disease. So, the thing is, those were both male doctors, okay? And now we can, like, go really far and be like, oh, that was commentary on male doctors not knowing about female anatomy and blah blah blah, and how they're like disregarding female anatomy and misdiagnosing. And it's like, okay, we could have done that, but we're not doing it in this book. So are they just incompetent? The thing is with Ellie Hazelwood, when she has something to say, she writes it on page very clear. Like, she doesn't really imply, at least that's what I feel like. It's not really in between the lines with her. Like, she writes her things straight up, and so I don't think that that's what she was going for. I think it was just like a really poor mystery that she was trying to establish, but everybody knew. And then at the end it's like Cohen telling her like, you're going into heat. And she's like, oh, I just really want to fuck, yeah. Maybe that's why I've been having sexual dreams. Like, maybe that's not a side effect of this terminal disease. She obviously doesn't communicate this with Cohen up until later in the book, and so she's like deeply inconvenienced by the fact that he makes her live with him in his house, because he picks her up after the Bob attack and then takes her with him to his house to live with everyone else. And she's like, no, like, I'd rather be alone. And he's like, no, you're going to stay here. Like, I'm going to protect you, obviously. At this point, she still thinks she's ill. Like, I don't really know why she didn't feel like telling anyone. She was like, oh, I didn't want to be, like, you know, be a Debbie Downer. I don't know where that came from. And pull everyone down with me. Like, I don't want everyone to be sad that I'm dying in like 3 months, because at this point she's assuming that she's gonna be dead in 3 months. Then there's also a random scene where she gives an interview on TV about being a hybrid, because again, as I mentioned, like everybody in this world, including the humans, are aware of the existence of vampires and werewolves. 6 independent groups of scientists have confirmed that I am an interspecific cross, Latin for freak, I believe, and not, as some pundits and social media trolls have decreed, a grifter making shit up for clout. How to age your book 101. You know I hate when I do that. You know it, girls, you know it, and gays and boys and whatever, whoever's watching, love you. I don't like her kind either. Do I think she should have come here? Fuck no. The agent blinks. I can almost hear his skin break into goosebumps. Women, they belong in the kitchen. I don't though. I don't know if this is supposed to be a joke, by the way. I'm assuming it is a joke, but it's not clarified as a joke, and I'm like, oh, we do? Let me go make him a sandwich. Just to spare you guys the migrating of the black color on my lips, I will now take it off. I don't take orders from the chick who once gave me toenail fungus. Shut up. Acknowledge me as your alpha. Love, we've been over this, Low murmurs, petting her knee. It's not how it works. And bring me gifts of gold, frankincense, and peanut butter. No idea what the fuck this conversation is. It's just they're also terribly weird and quirky. It's just not the type of people I'm into. I do have to say, like, I took so many notes on this book that they actually all fit, like, without scrolling. That's not good. That's not a lot of notes. And it's not because it's so good. It's because nothing happens. Also, at one point, the man says he's 36. I thought he was 35. That makes it worse. That makes it worse. And glaring, he leans toward me, full of something vicious that I cannot name. I want you to be scared shitless, Serena. I want you so fucking terrified of me you won't even dream of not doing what I say. I want you to feel like your soft little throat is in my hands. And I want you to be so afraid that I'll tear into it that when I tell you to do something for your own fucking safety, you won't consider saying anything but yes, alpha. I do have to say, because I haven't said it yet, whenever, I can't really take the whole alpha thing seriously, I'm sorry. Like, Omega-verse to me is a little bit weird, especially because I know that it stems from M/M romance and not straight romance. But also something I realized, wait, where are the gays? And where are the POC? Ellie Hazelwood, with her platform, really tries to advocate for POC, their works, and doing novellas in collaboration with smaller authors. Like, she's really spotlighting them on her social media. However, she's written so many fucking books, and none of them main male love interests, let's set the bar a little lower, was at least, like, black. Of course, there are also other POCs, but I'm just meaning as an example, like, why are they all white? I don't really like it. She's not really afraid of him. She thinks that, you know, he does have a huge schlong, probably. And you know what? He ends up having a huge schlong. So, I'm glad she was persistent. Killer, you're proof of concept that humans and where can fuck. Fruitfully so. Not only are you the most recognizable face on the continent, but there'll be a photo of you in every capsule shot into space for the coming century. You're good without introductions for the next couple of years. After he takes her to his house, he reveals that he isn't really living in there, like it's his house, but he spends most of his time in wolf form, as does everyone else, which I do want to talk about that later when they have sex, because guess what they don't do? Yeah. But they go shopping because there's nothing in his house, and she's like, they're meeting different people in this town, and she's like, should I introduce myself to them? And he's like, everybody knows who you are. And it's like, don't you have any fucking manners? Like, I'm sorry, imagine you meet Justin Bieber and you're like, talking to him, I don't know why you would be in this situation, you go, hey, I'm YN, and he goes, okay. Of course he's gonna say, I'm Justin. Why the fuck would she have to introduce herself? Is she Justin Bieber? Even more, you're not going to pay for my stuff. It's infantilizing. His dark eyes traveled down my body slowly, as if I could ever do that, he drawls. Because of her huge tits. You met her when she was 5, don't forget about that. Okay? And you're a 36-year-old man. He's nasty. He ends up paying for their entire shopping trip, and she, like, looks at some stuff. I imagine they were in Werewolf Target, and she like smells a candle and she's like, oh, I'm not gonna get it, I don't need it. And then when they get home, she's like unpacking everything and there's all of the stuff that she put back. Like the candle she smelled, the pillow she touched, he bought it all for her. I love him. She loves going shopping. She goes, it's so mundane and wonderful and cozy. Which already is like, is Target cozy? I've never been, so I'm asking. The entire sentence reads, it's so mundane and wonderful and cozy, the banality of the supply chain. Just like, that's the only sentence Ellie Hazelwood could come up with. The banality of the supply chain? I'll bring that at work next time. Her laughter adjusts the spin of his atoms. Sorry, just choke you. The thing is, like, we get a little bit of an excerpt from his POV in the beginning every time. And they're just, like, really unnecessary and not anything to the story. It's like him being like, she's so hot, I want to fuck, but I can't. Thank you for letting me know. At a random event or something, she's talking to a boy who's like 14 years old and he's also a werewolf, but he is one of the werewolves that doesn't fuck with her. Like most of the people there fuck with her. We have a bunch of side characters that I don't really care about. No one has anything against her, but this particular boy does. He insults her and then Cohen comes up. Now get out of my kitchen and go put product in your hair. Or whatever the fuck it is that you do in your spare time. Huh? It's just like that feels like a filler dialogue to me. What? Put product in your hair? Yes, teenage boys put products in their hair. It's still bad. He's horny as fuck, Amanda says, taking pity on me, at the mercy of his own lustful concubis. Probably jerks off every 3 hours. I assume you were about to say that because they're talking about the fact that he doesn't want to fuck Serena, the main character. It turns out the reason that he doesn't want to fuck, like he really wants to fuck her, but he swore an oath of celibacy. That's the conflict. Well, the conflict of them having sex. As you can tell thus far, I haven't told you anything about the plot because it starts like 60% into the book and it's not really good. So we're not even at the point where the plot starts yet. In case you were wondering. The reason he swore this oath is because it was like an ancient rule where they wanted to prevent the rulers or the alphas from putting a person, like their mate or someone, over the good of the pack. So they said you have to be celibate, you can't have sex at all, because then maybe you will fall in love, and then if you fall in love, you're gonna make sure that the person is okay instead of your pack, and then everyone's gonna die. And he swore that oath and he takes it very seriously. Walk slowly to the washing machine and get rid of the clothes. His voice pins me to the ground. Something builds in my belly. Do not make me chase after you. I think she had a sexual dream and like sweat her sex sweat into the clothes and goes to wash them, and he can smell it obviously because he's an alpha and he's really horny, and then he doesn't want to chase after her because that's gonna make him even hornier. Am I an alpha? Do I know? I don't know. Listen to this. He is bald with a long blonde beard. Ugh, double fuck. That is the worst thing you can be. Bald with a blonde beard. Sorry. There's a bunch of groups of people that I don't trust. Bald men, people with bobs. Gender doesn't matter. A bob in general is mistrusting. I'm mistrusting of bobs. Not the vampire bob, but just like the haircut. In case we're getting confused. Bald men? Did I say bald first or blonde? Well, either or. Now that I'm thinking about it, all kinds of men. Don't even remember who the fuck that was, but I feel like she made him really like have the worst of it. I'm not about to disintegrate his free will with my magic C word. See you next Tuesday, Thursday, whenever you have time. I am not allowed to say that word. Story time. One time I did a podcast episode about a Booktoker, and I read out a comment where someone called him the C word, and then I got demonetized. So I'm not gonna ever say it again, even though I do not. What do I want to say? Oh, I do not mind. I don't care. Cohen's fist darts out to punch the mirror, shattering my reflection into 1,000 small shards. He's short in his pants. This is when he finds her when she is having this flare in the middle of the night. She doesn't have it every night, like going into heat and then having these where she thinks she's actually ill. And she had it this night, and he finds her while she's trying to cool down because she always takes a cold bath and blah 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 because her body gets really hot. And he finds her and then he just punched the mirror. Oh yeah, because her eyes turned like black. So he did that. Love an impulsive king. Well, not impulsive, but pragmatic. Like, he was like, stop looking at them, and she did, and he's like, I'm just gonna break the mirror. You leave me no choice. Chapter 21 was my favorite for his paragraph. As I said earlier, like, every chapter starts with a paragraph from him. And I'm just like, gonna show you. No. This is something that I don't understand. I didn't understand it while I was reading it, why he was saying no, and neither do I care to find out. No. Period. He's rock hard too. He wants me. Half of the time he doesn't even bother hiding it. Okay. So now, after he witnessed this flare up and he takes her to the doctor, he's like, yeah, you're dying. And then I think she has another flare up, and then Cohen realizes like maybe this is just her going into heat, and it actually is. And then they go to the doctor again, and there's like a female doctor who's like, yeah, this is the heat. And before, the male doctor was like, this isn't the heat. I don't know. Glad that we... Why didn't you tell me that my hair looked like this? Oh, that's so embarrassing. How long has it been like this? So this doesn't really mean anything. Besides the fact that she is really horny, he is really horny, they're not allowed to fuck. Where's the plot? It hasn't started yet. There will also be temporary physiological changes. For instance, your scent will become more appealing to potential partners. As in, my smell brings all the wares to the yard? Cha-cha? I don't even remember the quote. You know, the lead. I just cannot read those quotes and be like, I read those quotes and I'm like, oh. You know? Do you get it? The first time I saw you, I thought that of course the universe would deliver someone with the most perfect pair of tits I'd ever seen and then yank her away from me. I love a romantic man. Oh my god, I love when men just talk about my boobies. Ugh. So then after he tells her that she has humongous beautiful tits, she goes, I really am absolutely gone over this man. Fully, irreparably lost. Okay, it's like, you just kind of have to go with it. Like, I don't really know why. I don't really know where that sentiment came from, but, you know, speak your truth. To Cohen, the covenant is not something that's been imposed by the huddle leaders, an arbitrary, unjust restraint. To him, it's a guarantee that history won't repeat itself by him not being allowed to fuck. The thing is, like, there's some thing that happened a few years back which warranted this rule to be implemented in the first place. A bunch of people were killed. Oh, I remember. That's when the plot starts. Apologies, I couldn't do it anymore. However, I have themed pimple patches to make up for it. If you're wondering, Sophie, love you, but where's the plot? As I mentioned earlier, around 60% in is when they start focusing on the plot. I would say they've been like subtly introducing it throughout the entire book, but it doesn't really come up until 6%, which is crazy. When they are at the doctor's one time, because of her non-terminal disease, there's a boy outside who confronts her, and she's like, what do you want? And he's like, I've been looking for you, you are the promised one, you have to come with me, everything will be fine. He calls her, I think you say Ava, but it's with an E, not with an A. In German would be Eva. With me, you know, we've been waiting for you. And she refuses, obviously. And then this boy jumps off a cliff. As a reader, I know that there's something going on. You can suspect what's going on because he's described very stereotypical cult-ish. And that is the plot. There's a cult and they're trying to get her. Which is why he's like thinking in his head that he has to stick to the celibacy thing, because he doesn't want it to repeat itself, because back a few years when he became alpha, which was actually when he was 15 and killed her parents, there was already this cult uproar, and there was like a cult that was promising humans that they would be turned into werewolves and live forever or something like that. That is not possible, but cults just lie, obviously. The leader of this cult was actually Serena's dad, who was a werewolf, and he got with a human woman who joined the cult, and then they had Serena, and she was like the miracle baby. There's like 2-3 other hybrids, but like it didn't really happen often. It was rare. It was Cohen who all those years ago made her a orphan by killing her parents, because again they were like trying to upheave the entire pack or something. And now the cult has been rebuilding under leadership of Serena's aunt, and they have been kind of waiting for her to turn up again to take her in the hopes that just like knowing about the fact that her parents were the cult leaders would make her like join the cult and become the new cult leader and become like a martyr and become a symbol or whatever. Do you have to be dead to be a martyr is the question. Because if so, then I just used that word wrong. Obviously, they want her alive. They want her to come back with them. And at this point, she also doesn't know about the fact that Cohen was the one who killed her parents. It's revealed later. And it's supposed to be like the thing that makes her turn against him. But they still haven't fucked. So it's not gonna make her if you know what I mean. She gets kidnapped, taken to the cult, and her aunt is like, I'm gonna tell you about everything. You can leave at any time. Just let me try to talk to you. And she goes, I'm not going to ball over a shitty stock photo or some AI generated ... Serena, he has a laugh but seems as shaken as I am. I killed so many people. I made so many orphans. Wow, that's so hot. Because they're talking about like, do you remember killing my parents? And he's like, girl, like there were so many people that I killed. It's not that deep. This man was angry. He hurt you and your family. Now that you are angry, what will you do, Eva? And, you know, they want her to kill him, but obviously she doesn't because they haven't had sex yet. I make a vaguely neurochemical imbalance shaped gesture. And it's so sick and tired of this bullshit. Do I resent him? Does he hate me? Am I angry? How much of this is his fault? Should I carry my parents' sins? Can I forgive? Can he? Is there anything to forgive here? He's just as stumped, fiddling with these impossible thoughts. Gives me a stuck, resigned look and says, couple goals, am I right? OTP! He goes, I would do it all over again, even knowing what I did to you. I would kill your parents anytime. Fuck them parents. She gets rescued from the cult by him, and then at the end of the book they make like another trap, and so she gets kidnapped again, but then they rescue her again and all is well and she forgives him, and she's like, you know, my parents were bad people, they were cult leaders, like fuck them, I don't even know who they are. I really don't care. My dad's name was Constantine, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I just realized that I forgot to make my bed after laying in it while, you know, taking my makeup off. So I'm not gonna get up and do it. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna turn my chair like this. He, again, swore the celibacy oath, right? He swore this in front of a council. There's a council. Even though he's the alpha, he's the leader of the pack. We're in this thing for life. Ahoo! Like the sound on TikTok, that's what I was thinking about the entire time I was reading this book. So there's this council that keeps him in check, or like when there's like big decisions to be made, they make them together or whatever. That's great. Love that for him. He swore the celibacy oath in front of them, and they kind of like check on him like throughout the book. Also, they're like coming to their place and like, are you having sex? Are you having sex? And it's like, no, we're not. But of course we know she's going into heat. And this is a huge issue because she needs to find someone to fuck, because otherwise she will combust, from what I understand. She's having a hard time with this because there's no one she wants to fuck besides Cohen, and everyone around her is like, oh, I bet there's so many men that would fuck you. And she's like, I don't want anyone, I want Cohen. The big bad wolf, literally. And so after this cult thing happens for the first time, you know, before they do the final kidnapping where they destroy the cult, his friends basically arrange so that they can fuck, and they're like, we're not gonna tell anyone. You two fuck it out for 3 days, and we're not gonna tell anyone, we're gonna cover for you, and then after that you're gonna go separate ways. Like, that's the deal. Hey, I was really confused by this because I was thinking, like, aren't they able to smell that they fucked? Like, even if he doesn't bite her fucking neck, where whatever the fuck the thing is she has to do to claim her, wouldn't they still be able to smell that they had earth-shattering sex? That the mountain shook? Maybe not. So they end up doing it. She goes into heat. They fuck for 3 days straight. I feel him rearranging my C-word, my soul, my entire damn life, and lose control of my body. My head falls back. My thighs tremble. I don't know where I put it. VH in air. His thrusts are slow, shallow, redefining. Shallow? His cock starts jerking, and he holds me tighter, groaning. It starts jerking. I'm left trembling and unsatisfied. Even though I'm still in my 20s, I know that it's the most erotic thing I'll ever experience. Which is a crazy statement to make. Now that I'm reading it again, that is a crazy statement to make. Especially because it's not with a full stop. It's just full on through. I'm left trembling and unsatisfied, comma, even though I'm still in my 20s, comma, I know that it's the most erotic thing I'll ever experience, which is like, thank you for being self-aware. I hate her age gap romance. She doesn't write them good, and not that I am pro age gap romance. I don't feel it doesn't sit right with me. In case it never sat right with me. The head of his catches against my throat, and he runs a hand through my hair. She's deep throating him. The first time she's giving a head. That's crazy. Such a fucking nuisance. I wonder why it took me until this very moment to realize that it's been his way of saying I love you all along. That's not him saying I love you. That's I wouldn't take that for I love you. She tells him I love you, and he throughout the entire book has been calling her a nuisance, and so he does it in this situation. It's like, oh, that's his way of saying no, it's not. Stop. Make him say I love you in your face, please. And that's how the book ends. Again, they have like a situation where she gets kidnapped and then rescued, and then the council is like, oh, we're realizing that you also put the pack first and you would do anything to protect the pack, so we're gonna allow you guys to be together and fuck the celibacy. And also there was like a thing about him wanting to step down out of his own free will. He was like, I want to be with you, I want your pussy so bad that I'm gonna step down as alpha, and she was like, no, we're not gonna do that. And then the kidnapping happens, and then, you know, the council allows it. And then that's how the book ends, that they're together forever. He has a humongous pee-pee and everything is well and lovely. Meg and Jane, my cold reader, Mega. Wait, what did I just say? Call her Megan? I'm sorry, that was not okay of me. But alas, message me. You need to maybe start Rome reading. Daniel Brown, my interior designer. What does he have to do with this? Susan for immediately clocking the boob situation. What's the last line of the book? It tastes, Cohen thinks, like forever should. Yeah, the last scene is them fucking and him biting her neck finally, which like cements them as mates. Yeah. So that was the first review, Mate by Ellie Hazelwood. Yet again, a little cute, forgettable romance. A book to forget. I know they do some nodding in this also, but I think it just didn't hit as hard as it did when she did it in the first book, because now everyone already knew it was a thing. And of course, now that we're at the end, I also have to say, disappointedly, she did not have them have sex in wolf form. Would that be bestiality? I'm not sure. But, I mean, there's some questionable things in her book, so I don't know why she wouldn't write that. Especially after it's established that he spends most of his time usually in wolf form, and Serena doesn't for the entire book up until the end, because she has like a going into heat block where she can't turn into a wolf, and then at the end she does, so everything is fine. But then he could have done it, like the last thing could have been them fucking in wolf form, I'm saying. Not that I didn't want to read that, but it's just like, why didn't she go there? Other than that, there was nothing particularly different about this book, nothing she did better than in her other books or worse. It was just on par with everything else I've ever read from her. Same banter, same quirkiness. With that being said, this was of course the full-length novel review, and I know you are checking in your boots to hear about the novella about the vampire and the dystopia, which I don't know what the fuck that was. So I'm gonna say thank you for watching. Stay tuned, and I'm gonna hand it over to Sophie from the next review. Hello. I don't have vampire teeth at my disposal, okay? But I am very evidently dressed as a vampire. Or Jojo Siwa. You can pick one. The next book that we'll be talking about is Hot for Slayer by Ellie Hazelwood. Yeah, still Ellie Hazelwood. Hot for Slayer is a novella that is just like under the 100 pages, maybe like 95? So is that a novella or a short story? We'll discuss it in a second. Hot for Slayer is about a vampire who is crushing on a vampire slayer, which is why it's called Hot for Slayer. And I'm dressed up as the vampire today. And I am not dressed up as any vampire because of course through media and everything there have been different iterations of vampires. And I picked a specific one. Me. Sophie, vampire. when I was a child. I decided to revamp the look one-to-one, and that's what you're being served with today. So this was very intentional. This one was published on the 23rd of September. So the other novella that we'll talk about after and the full-length book, they were published on the same day. This one was published before. It's part of the Scared Sexy collection, which are Amazon original stories. There were 6 authors who came together to create these short stories. They are free with Prime and Kindle Unlimited. The other authors are Christina Lauren, JT Geisinger, Rudy Dixon, Kimberly Lemming, and Katie Robert. And Katie Robert is the only one I know out of this bunch because she wrote Neon Gods. Or Neon God, singular, I'm not sure actually. And I was reflecting, I was like, oh my god, yeah, what was that about? I don't remember. I think I have a review on it. I think I did read it. Not a single thing I can tell you about that book. I would, also, stop. I genuinely don't remember anything. So that's that. So this is gonna make me look up what is the difference between a novella and a short story, because I don't know the difference. Short stories are typically much shorter, it says. No way. Ranking from a few hundred to few thousand words. At the same time, novellas are longer than short stories but shorter than novels, allowing for more depth and exploration than a short story while still maintaining a sense of consciousness and efficiency. So I'm not going to read all of this because I don't care. To me, in my head, right, and this is maybe not the official definition, but to me a short story is a singular story that is not connected to anything else, and a novella is part of like an already existing universe. That's just how, I know it's not correct. People are gonna eat me up in the comments. For example, the Ecotar novella is a novella. It's a novella because it's contextually like part of a novel series. And so there's just like, it's a shorter novel and therefore it's a novella. But it's like contextually in the series. But calling this 95-page story a novella is not, it's not true, it's a short story. Or like even I think the other one is like 200 pages or 190 pages. It's also not a novella to me, that's also a short story. That's my personal emotions towards it, okay? Not that I care that much. I really don't care about short stories / novellas. They are too short for me and I don't read. I have read A Telltale Heart. That's a short story, that's not a novella. Anyway, Ellie Hazelwood is arguably, in my opinion, the most well-known out of the bunch, and they all came together to write like spooky, sexy stories in time for Halloween, but it came out a month before Halloween. So is that, if it comes out in time for Halloween, is September like, does it count? Like to me it should come out in October for it to count, but you know, I'm very picky. So how much can I talk about this when it's only 95 pages? Well, not that much actually. I do want to make clear right now, after reading this, arguably the shortest story I've ever read from Ellie Hazelwood. I was gonna say from novella. I'm so confused. She's written other short stories / novellas before that I haven't read, that I don't care to read either. They read the exact same as her full-length books, which you're gonna say, yeah, it's the same author. But what I mean by that is, this proves to me that all her full-length novels could be short stories. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but the banter was the exact same. The development between the two characters also felt the same to me. Same goes for the one that was slightly longer. And that just proves to me that a lot of what she writes is filler. And I think that, you know, she really boiled it down to the essential in this book, and it could have even been shorter than that. Alas, let me know what you think about that. And just so you don't have to look at me for much longer, I have a mirror right here, so I can watch myself. I'm scared. I mean, I can't watch myself, I'm a vampire. Hot for Slayer follows Ethel, which I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. She has like a full-length name that's like very vintage. That's one way to put it. It's an old name because she grew up a long time ago. She's old as fuck. Like, I don't even know, like in the 800s. I don't know when she grew up. In a nunnery. So she's a failed nun who was turned into a vampire. The way people are turned into vampires, because of course, if you are doing a short story with a novella without an established universe, you also have to give us like the outline, right? So that also takes up a lot of the book already, and then we have even less character interaction, but a lot. Being turned into a vampire is random. So some people, after being fed on by a vampire, they either die or they turn into a vampire. And for some reason, she turned into a vampire, and now she just has to live like this. Vampires are very lonesome creatures in this book. They don't like to canoodle. I don't know what that even means. And they don't like hanging out together, and they are just kind of by themselves the entire time. And for her, that's a little bit of an issue because she describes herself as like a really social creature. She's very witty and very like quirky, just like all of Ellie Hazelwood's main characters are, even more than the one from the other novella. She wasn't that quirky, but this one was exceptionally quirky. I mean, she's lived for thousands of years, so maybe, I don't know if it's thousands or hundreds. I don't know how old she is. There's a slayer called Laszlo Enyedi, and he's been wanting to slay her forever. Slayers are specifically created and dedicated to a bloodline of vampires, to kill that bloodline of vampires. So the slayer Laszlo has been following her around, and he comes up like every century. They have one interaction where they like go back and forth and one steps the other, and then they separate again and kind of meet up again years later, blah blah blah. The book starts, and I'm so sorry, but she has to keep my name out of this book. The last time Laszlo and Yedi and I made this much physical contact with each other, the Berlin Wall was falling. Berlin is in Germany, and that's where I am right now. The entire beginning of the book is like a flashback to when they were fighting while the Berlin Wall was falling. She was in Berlin because she killed someone there. There's no like talk about being able to consume animal blood. It's always humans, and she only like consumes the blood of criminals and evil men and stuff like that to make up for it. She killed someone. She goes, afterwards I licked my chops, adjusted the shoulder pads of my blazer. Who's ever had to do that? Do you have to adjust shoulder pads? I feel like I have a few things with shoulder pads. Arguably I have really big shoulders. I don't need it. I look broad enough already, but if I'm wearing them, I'm not like constantly like adjusting the shoulder pads. Ugh, this is like a weird cut. I feel a little bit emo. Love all my emo queens out there. I'm part of you today. Again, it's like a flashback of one of the interactions during the fall of the Berlin Wall to show us the history. She goes, I studied him for a split second, took in the colorful tattoos that clamped around his neck to curl under his jawline. I think he looks like Ed Sheeran. I think he is Ed Sheeran because he's the only person I know with colorful tattoos. So to me, the Slayer looked like Ed Sheeran. I also don't know how they know their names, like where they are on first name base. He says to her, flushed and plump and beautiful. You just fat, didn't you? What the fuck did you just call me? Her real name is Ethel Thrinth. I don't think Ellie Hazelwood herself knows how to say that. Remember when Rebecca Yarak put like Gaelish words into her book and didn't know how to pronounce them? That's kind of what this is giving. I once took a zip of boonaboo and hurled immediately for the following 6 months. Our species has a clear case of hot girl tummy, and I'm grateful to the 21st century for giving us a final diagnosis. Yeah, I feel like even if you were an ancient vampire, you wouldn't talk like that. She is portrayed to have always been kind of rebellious. A rebellious nun. That she was always very quirky anyway. Doesn't really matter. Vampires in this book don't eat solid food. They can't. And they don't go outside because they will burn in the sun. That's the one way to kill them, is in the sun. Otherwise you can't kill them. Garlic, mirrors. I don't know. That's as far as I got. So what is the plot of this short story? Laszlo is very grumpy and like shy, which is of course most of her main male characters, and most of her female characters are quirky baddies and a little bit awkward. So this is just like very fits right in. He's hunting her, but he's arguably not doing a very good job because she's still alive, right? She gets kidnapped by a vampire that moves in close to where she lives. She's in New York City, and because they are so territorial, this vampire kidnaps her to kill her, right? And just as the sun is coming up and is gonna burn her alive, Laszlo comes and saves her from getting burned, and in the same breath kills the other vampire. Or does he? No, he comes up in the end, and then I think he kills him. I don't remember. I don't really care. And Laszlo ends up saving Ethel, even though he is like created to kill her. So she's like, what the fuck just happened? And then he goes unconscious because he hits his head, and when he wakes up, he doesn't remember anything about himself or anyone. The plot of this book is amnesia. He doesn't remember anything, and then we have like the, oh my god, like, how do I tell him I'm a vampire? I don't. She ends up like making shit up about him being a exterminist, or however the fuck the people are called who kill bugs. And she's a bug scientist, and so that's why they hate each other and they are enemies, because she's like do you believe in vampires? He's like, no, I don't. Why the fuck would I do that? And so she's like, oh, okay, because people don't know that there are vampires out there, you know. It's not like her other books where people are aware. And he's like, okay, I'm just gonna go with it. Every lie that she tells him, he's just like, in his amnesia brain, I'm just gonna go with it. The fuck? She's kind of cute. I feel attraction towards her. I don't remember who she is. I feel attracted to her. He keeps saying that, like, you're so hot. Like, I know we're not enemies. And she's like, no, we are. And he's like, I don't think that I feel that way about you. Because he has a crush on her. Yeah. Is it cute? Not really. We'll get to it. It's, I think, over the span of 2 days that he loses his memory. And so it's just like, oh, I don't have a bed. I don't have food. Like, I have to tell him excuses about that. Buys him food. Then he's like, oh, you sleep on the couch, right? And she's like, yeah, right. I don't have a bed because I sleep on the couch. And he's like, okay. Can we cuddle? By doing this, you're probably destroying your decades-long marriage, I mumble against the unwieldy pillow of his biceps. I just hope you have nice feet. Why? You're going to have to sell lots of pictures of them to afford a divorce lawyer. Okay. She's assuming that he is in a committed relationship with children, which I don't know how that would work. Would they also be immortal? Because he's immortal, would the children also become immortal then? Or would they just die? So why the fuck would he want to have children? That seems really fucking depressing. He, of course, does not have a significant other. Laszlo grabs a knife from the wooden block and uses it to slash the fruit into 4 pieces while it's still in the air. Fruit ninja. He then just kind of accepts his fate. They get attacked again by the vampire who they assumed he had killed, who was trying to kill her. That vampire turns up again. He then actually does kill the vampire. He then remembers everything and confesses that he has a crush on her. And he's been trying to talk to her and tell her, but every time that they meet, she like fights him, which is understandable because she's assuming that you're there to kill her because you're a slayer. And then it gets better because it turns out he's been stalking her for centuries. He has the apartment right across from her, like not in a hallway, but the windows. He can see inside her windows. And he's just been watching her every move for many, many years. She thinks this is so hot. And they proceed to have sex. Yeah, I'm actually not sure how the book ends. Oh, they stay together forever until the earth explodes is what I wrote down. I don't think that's how the book ends necessarily, but maybe I just made that up. That was my own little short story. I rub my core against the meat of his thigh. Yeah? Do we have to be doing that? Oh, it's them on Halloween. Ooh! Giving children candy. And being like, haha, look, they're dressed up as like a vampire and a vampire slayer. That's literally us. So us. It's just like a little bit weird because we're being told that he's been stalking her, trying to slay her for years. He decides against it because he has been watching her, he's been stalking her, and he knows that she only kills bad guys, and so he like forgives her, and he's like, I have a crush on you. And he's been trying to talk to her, but whenever they met, right, and she assumed that he was there to kill her, he could have just said, wait, I need to talk to you, I love you. But he was kind of anxious about it, so after he remembers himself after the amnesia, he's just like, you know what, fuck it, we only have this life, I gotta tell it to her. Which is really convenient because they're both immortal, you know? It's actually really good. I think that it's interesting that these books also count to your reading goal. That was really mean. I mean, it is very short. I have nothing else to say about it because nothing else happens in it because it is a short story. It's under 100 pages. What more are we expecting? Nothing, right? I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you are now happy that you know what happens in that book, which is nothing. The dude gets amnesia and then they fuck. And she's really cold because she's a vampire. I didn't even change the sign in the back because I didn't know what to say about it. I'm not going to change it. Maybe I am for the next part, but let me know which one has been your favorite so far. And please say goodbye to this amazing makeup look and say hello to the last part of this video. Hi! How's everybody doing? We have now landed in the last part of this video, which is the final review of the book called First, and it's a dystopian that plays in the future, so that's why I didn't dress up. Because who is to say what the future is gonna look like? Listen, I was thinking very hard about how I could adjust to this story, but you will see when I talk about it that it's not giving anything. Then I was like reflecting myself and my life. I was like, if I were to be in a dystopia now, like the world was ending and I'm here, what would I do? What would Sophie do? And I think I would just kill myself. No, Just kidding, of course. But I do think that I would be chopped, as the kids say today. And I don't think I would spend time on getting ready. I think I would just be depressed, especially if I were living in the world that they are living in. So that's why I decided to be raw and real and rare. And because of that, there's nothing on my face right now. Wow. I'm so brave. I'm sitting here without makeup. Am I going crazy? Because I think that this is what I would look like in dystopia. And I tried to match the, oh sorry, it's a little bit dirty, well, fits, vibe of the book, because it's like a little bit ocean-y, ocean themed. You will see. And that's why I wanted to put on something blue. Right? So there was thought put behind this, or into this. So the final look for today is me. Y'all, this book, or short story should I say, had it in it. It's only available on Kickstarter. If you don't know what Kickstarter is, neither do I. Basically, people pitch things on Kickstarter and then you can pledge. And you can pledge, and if the goal is met, like the donation goal is met, then it will be produced, whatever the person is selling. For this, it's a book, but you could also be like, oh, I'm like trying to fund this merch I'm trying to do, but I need to reach a certain number so I can actually make the merch. And then you can be like, I will give this person money on Kickstarter, and then they can make it if they reach a goal. So this book is on Kickstarter. 8 original stories is exploring love after the end of the world. I think the pledge is, and don't quote me on this, from what I remember it's $45. And as I just said, it's 8 stories, again from different authors. This story is around 200 pages, and that's great. After the End, a dystopian romance collection, and they wanted to finance it with $10,000 and 11,000, when I took the screenshot, by the way, I don't know how many it is now, 11,400 people had donated or pledged, and that made $1 million. Is that true? I feel like I don't know numbers very well. Like $1 million seems like a lot. Maybe you can also donate more. Now I have to look it up. Ugh. There's like a whole long blah 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 on how this came to be, the premise, and like the people writing it and everything and everyone. Of course, one of them is by hazelwood, and her one is called First. And I was too lazy to change the sign, but if I had changed it, I would have said last, because I hope this is the last I ever have to read of a story like this. So the ebooks only are $40. The audiobooks only are $50, and ebooks and audiobooks are $65. Ebooks, audiobooks, and merch are $100. Paperback pack 1 is $125. Paperback pack 2 is $150. That's like that with additional merch, or like some have the audiobooks included. Paperback pack 3 is $185. Hardcover pack 1 is $205. Hardcover pack 2 is $230. Hardcover pack 3 is $265. Paperback swag box is $310. It keeps going. Hardcover swag box $395. Super swag box $540. I'm crashing. Bookseller paperback bundle $768. And 11 people did that. It keeps going! What the fuck? I thought we reached the end. No, bookseller combo bundle $984. Oh wait, that's for people who want to sell the book. Okay, then it's okay. Back off. So the most expensive one for the normal people, that is you and I assume, because we are not maybe you are a bookseller. Maybe you have a shop and you want to buy these books to sell them in your store. The most expensive normal box is the super swag box for $50 million. $440, set of 4 paperback volumes, each volume with 2 stories, set of 4 hardcover volumes, hardback slipcase, ebooks, audiobooks, flat swag, hoodie, sweatshirt, branded hydro flask, and crossbody bag. It's 2 different kinds of hydro flasks. I can't talk today. 44 people did that. Can I see who those people are? No. I would read out your name right now. Just kidding. I don't really care who does this. You can do with your money whatever you want. Expected delivery is next year, 2026 in June. So they're pledging, right? And they reached their donation goal, which means that they are now actually being produced into physical copies, these books. Of course, you're wondering which one I did, because you can only get all 8 stories. You cannot get a story individually. So like logically, I would have had to do the $40 one to get all 8 ebooks, and of course I did that. Of course. Of course I did that. I don't really care who these other people are, I can tell you though, in case you care. Adriana Herrera, Ellie Hazelwood, Nina Saxena, that rhymes, it's funny. Nikki Payne, Elizabeth Steffens, Claire Kent, Cherry Thomas, Kate C. Wells. I don't know who these other people are. I think arguably Ellie Hazelwood again is the most famous one. I'm just gonna say that for everyone because I never know anybody. That's why I'm just keep saying this, I'm sorry. I assume logically, if you were interested in this, you would go into the Kickstarter website, look at who the authors are and what the stories are about. Again, and you can tell that something is coming if I'm paraphrasing it like this, right? The description on the very top reads, 8 original stories exploring love after the end of the world. After the end, we'll still have HEAs. And I was like, is that a disease? It's happily ever after. It's not a disease, actually. Then it says further down, like there's more text. I'm just like focusing on the Ellie Hazelwood part. What's in the After the End collection? And then for hers, it reads, Alpha Warriors and Tenacious Omegas joining forces against the elites. Okay. First, by Ellie Hazelwood, a general plans to use a nobleman's bride to teach him a lesson. After meeting her, he decides to keep her for himself. And then they added content, notes, and warnings. So this also, I will be talking about the things that I'm reading out now. So if that's not something that you feel comfortable with, feel free to skip this part. You already hopefully watched the other 2 parts of this video. So, you know, don't worry. You're definitely not missing out. Content notes and warnings are ableism, blood, death of secondary characters, dubious consent, infertility, and violence. I have talked about dubious consent before, and I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't like when it's used in books, and you will see now when I talk about these books, like I would even give like a warning for R wording, which is not included here. I think she maybe thinks that dubious consent is like an umbrella term, which I don't think it is. The main male character in this book is very R-wordy towards the female character. It's never resolved, it's never discussed further. To me, it's disgusting, and I was shook in a negative way when I was reading this short story, because it did not feel like, well, the writing felt like Ellie Hazelwood, but the content of the story did not feel like her at all. It was ridiculous. So I will talk about the story now. Again, if this is something you're sensitive towards, please skip this part. I will not, well, I will read out some quotes probably just to show you guys what I'm talking about, but it's crazy. Okay, so love you. The book starts with a very long monologue, and keep in mind this is like 190 pages, okay? Very long monologue or explanation about omegas and alphas, because this is an alpha, omega, whatever story. I don't know why alphas and omegas are just normal people, like they're not wolves or anything. I thought that alphas and omegas always had to be wolves, but that's just my ignorance. But then it felt weird that like they wanted to bite each other still, if they weren't wolves, you know what I mean? Doesn't really matter. We get this whole introduction that I didn't really read, and I can't recall truly, where it was like alphas are strong, omegas are weak, and they have to be fucked by alphas and stuff. It's very explicit, this book. It's very explicit. We are thrust! Oh, maybe I should just tell you about the world building first, because I didn't get it. I wanted to say we are thrust into the story, and that is why I will now take the time before we get into it to explain the world to you, because this is a dystopian romance short story, and she thought of this whole like weird system that genuinely needs, like, even if it would have been a full-length novel, I feel like she wouldn't have been able to explain it properly. And in this novel, well, in the short story, she takes up so much time to just explain how everything works, because I feel like she just made it unnecessarily complicated. And it took me the entire book to understand what was going on with the world. We are living in the future, and you have to assume that the water levels have risen to a point where it's not possible to live outside anymore. Like there's no land, or barely any land. The weather is divided into lows and highs, I think. Definitely lows. I don't know if the other one was a high. And that just means that the water levels are high or low. Okay, are you following? And the lows are getting rarer and the highs are getting longer. And so the civilization has built underwater bunkers and like entire cities underwater. They're all in tunnels underwater. It's like cities. I don't know how to explain it because I don't know what it is. They're all underwater. They're all living there. And they are barely outside because the highs keep getting longer and there's barely any sun, and like there's for some reason like a revision into elitism, and so well we still have that, but I mean like in the sense that there's like elite families that are ruling over this underwater city, and then there's hinted at like, oh, there's other cities who also live above and blah blah blah. I don't know what she was thinking when she was doing this setup. Because it doesn't work. She's never gonna pick this shit up again. I feel like she came up with this crazy idea. She was just like, sitting down like brainstorming like what crazy thing could I do? And she came up with this, and then it was like, okay, this is good for a short. It's not good for a short story. And why are they alphas and omegas? Where did that come from? When there are lows, they can go outside and they get like farming material and stuff like that. And so there is an army. Okay, there is an army, and I was confused the entire book. Who are we fighting against? They are fighting against the walruses. You think I'm joking? She at some point fixes the dude's wound, and he's like, oh, she was like, what happened? He was like, it's a walrus. That's your enemy? I mean, they are dangerous, but like, why do we have an army to fight against the walruses? But the army isn't just there to fight the animals in the ocean, because for some reason those are still the same as in our time. Like I feel like they should have evolved too. They are all engineers. The army is BTS. The army is engineers, and they all, I don't know. I'm confused now that I'm explaining it. They work to upkeep the hold that they are in, like the underwater city. That is what the army are for. Like they're soldiers who are all engineers, and they all make sure that there's no danger from walruses and from like pipes breaking and places flooding and shit like that, so nobody drowns, so the whole fucking city doesn't drown. And the richer you are, the higher up you live, like the closer to the above, and the poorer you are, the further down you live. And so I was really confused because why do we have an army, and why is it called soldiers, and why is he the general? Like the main dude is the general of the army. And I was like, for what reason is this called an army? They're all engineers and he's the best engineer? Huh? That's the setup of the world. He is an alpha who's a general, and the main female character is an omega who came from like a poor family but then became a healer because they need healers in case they get in trouble with the fucking walruses. And she is very passionate about her job, and of course omegas are rare and super sought after because they are just so hot and they smell so good. But she's a cold omega, which means that she is an omega, but she didn't develop properly, so she has small tits, small ass, non-childbearing hips, and she doesn't smell so good, and like she's a little bit ugly, right? Her best friend of many years is a better boy, whose name I forgot, but I'm sure I can tell you later. I also forgot her, Sophia. I didn't forget her name. Sophia is very close to Sophie, that's me. She's getting closer to me by the day. She's coming for me. I'm not coming for, she's coming for me. And the main dude is called Gabriel, yeah. Gabriel is super like anti-rich. He wants to tax the rich. He wants to overthrow the elites and take over and give everyone money, and he's Robin Hood. He's Robin Hood who at the same time wants to R-word the main female character. I don't think Robin Hood would do that, arguably. Main female character Sophia and the better boy, they are now wanting to get married, which is the beginning of the story, because nobody else wants her, and he's just a better boy. And so he's from an elite family, yeah. So that's really good because like nobody wants her, even though she's an omega, because she's a cold omega. Her best friend, he's kind of nice to her, so she's like, yeah, you're also from an elite family. My family is dead. They died to the walruses. So let's get married. I agree. I want to be your wife. We're thrust into the story now. Okay, now that you know the setup of this work. Gabriel is killing a bunch of people. I thought at the beginning he was killing vampires. I thought this was a vampire story. It's not. There are no vampires. He was having a council meeting and he was attacked by a bunch of people. It turns out that the Larsons, that's a family, are the one family that are still opposing his new tax plan or something. He has a new plan, I assume it's a tax plan. They are opposing him because they are rich and they don't want to be taxed. So for some reason everybody agrees with him besides this family, and he needs like the agreement of this family to go through with his plan. And then there's also a council who he needs to like then show that all of the elite families agree with him, and then they will reinforce the law or whatever. Anyway, this Larson father, he has a first name, Larson's their last name, I don't know his first name. They don't fuck with this plan and they attack him, and he's like, this is getting out of hand, like the people keep dying, I can't keep living like this. His brother then proposes an idea, but before we are explained what this idea is, we get to meet the main character, Sophia. She is a healer, she's currently healing someone. She thinks that the general is a bitch because back in the day he actually killed someone that's in the Larson family, and the better boy that's gonna marry her is also in the Larson family. So she's connected to the Larsons, who are opposing Gabriel. That's why they have a little bit of a conflict there. She knows that he years back killed someone of the Larson family. She doesn't know why, she just thinks he's cruel. That's it. Like, that's her problem with him. Oh, also, I want to read out the world building to you guys quickly so you can understand where my confusion came from when I read this. It has flood-proof structures sealing the stone from the ingress of salt water and its corrosion, watertight gates and small domes, prediction instrumentation, deluge detection, air filtration, and energy storage are choices. The engineering soldiers of the military are the only ones who can guarantee the integrity and upkeep of these systems. We are all that stands between humans and of the North and certain death, and our political rise is warranted. Tax the rich. He wants to tax the rich, by the way, because he wants to renovate the city. And they don't want to do that for some reason. Sophia is reflecting about Gabriel and she goes, his goal, like mine, is to reduce resource inequality within the population and to put a stop to centuries of unchecked greed. Which is like, okay, exposition. Like, could you have said that any more eloquently, maybe? Like, not so in my face. Some even think that there might be other strongholds like ours with even more people than in this one. Hard to believe with highs like these. The last one rose so suddenly it destroyed lots of expansion progress we made during the previous low. It's just like, do you agree with me that this premise is like interesting? Like, okay, we can explore that, but not for a short story where the focus is the dude R-wording the Sophia. You know what I mean? It's like, you're setting up a really cool premise. I can give her grace. I can say it's cool, right? But not for the setting. It's too much. She's doing too much. I am not petite and soft-fleshed and luscious. I told you, non-childbearing hips. Years and infinite medical tests later, my scent hasn't developed. I've never matured into my omega designation. I'll never be able to form a complete bond with an alpha, which, you know, that's why she wants to marry the better Larson boy. His name is Leonard, by the way. I remember. They have a mating ceremony, which is a wedding, I guess. And they don't really announce it to anybody. It's very on the low. They don't tell anyone, which is very unusual. Like, usually when elite families marry or have a marriage going on, they tell everybody. He's just like the second-born son, I think. So he's not that important. We don't know about the first-born son. It doesn't really matter. Nobody knows that this is happening. But Gabriel's brother knows. And so he tells Gabriel, hey, they're getting married. And he's like, why the fuck do I care about this? And then his brother tells him, well, you as the general of the army have the right of the first night. Yeah. Now you can picture what that means. It's exactly what you picture. In summary, at their discretion, the current general of the army has the legal right to request the presence of the mate of any person of noble birth who lives in the stronghold. This right is limited to the first night following the mating ceremony. Once the mate is escorted to the general's quarters, the general has the right to make use of them for the duration of the night. Examples of use include, but are not limited to, sexual, domestic, and other recreational activities. The mate may not be harmed beyond what is reasonable during this time. How do you even think of this idea for a story? First of all, weird. Secondly, this is where it all starts going downhill, and that's like the very beginning because the story is only 200 pages long. The way that Gabriel talks to his brother and anybody and to himself about the situation is so beyond weird and disgusting. There's like a lot of emphasis on the fact that he in the past has rejected like all of these traditional weird ideas of the elites. You know, he wants to take them down, he wants to tax the rich, he wants to be a revolutionist, and he also says at one point when his brother tells him about this idea, that's barbaric, like that's a outdated rule, like what the fuck. The reason he killed a member of the Larson family in the past, which is why Sophia hates him, it's not explicitly said, but I think the Larson dude abused an Omega, which is why Gabriel killed the Larson, because he was like standing up for the Omega. And then he says that's a barbaric like old rule, this right of the first night. But when he then finds out that, you know, it's an Omega that's gonna marry the Larson boy, he's like, oh, well then who the fuck cares? Then it's no issue when it's like his political enemy that he's going to like degrade and humiliate this Omega, and she's cold and she's probably ugly anyway. For your sake, I hope she's decent looking. She's a cold Omega, not your usual type, right? I figured you're going to need some incentive to bring yourself to fuck her, aside from revenge. He tells his brother like, oh, she's innocent in this, like she's just like being pushed into the situation. She's not really part of the Larson family. She's just like a bystander that's now getting involved in this scheming. And then he's like, but I'm not gonna spare her. I'm not gonna, like, even though that's the case, I'm not gonna spare her. And then his brother keeps going and he's like, yeah, but like everything the Larsons have done, and like if she's marrying the beta boy, she's complicit. And then Gabriel's like, oh right, then I'm just gonna fuck her even harder. Fuck her even harder is what he says. Also the fact that she's a cold Omega, you know, which means she's underdeveloped even though she's an Omega, means that they don't really self-lubricate. And so he would genuinely be R-wording her. His brother says, the dry virgin girl you're going to tear to shreds. The thing is, he doesn't actually go through with it. Like, there are some more quotes that I'm gonna spare you because I think you get the picture and you can just believe me like about this. He has different conversations, even with like the beta boy's mom, where she's like, why are you doing this to the Omega girl, to Sophia? And he's like, well, blah blah blah, like I'm gonna fuck her, she's not gonna be able to walk, like I'm gonna take her so hard. And it's just like, is this necessary? And the thing is, she is not a cold Omega. She has been getting poisoned, spoiler, by the beta boy's family because they wanted an Omega for him, because betas are just like, they're nothing in this realm, and they wanted an Omega for him. So they were, since they knew her since childhood, they have been poisoning her so she doesn't develop. And so when she is then taken for the rite of the first night, she doesn't take this medication, and then Gabriel is able to send her and is like, hey, you're actually normal. You're a normal Omega. He then like starts caring for her and doesn't go through with R-wording her. So you're gonna say, okay, it's good. Like, he was just making threats. It's never cleared up that what he was saying was just like to maybe play a role. But the thing is, like, he was talking to his brother. Why would he talk to him like this? And they could have just been like, oh, we're just gonna take her and like lock her in the room and like dress her in your clothes so she smells like you and have it be done with. Like, you don't actually have to fuck her. No one ever does that. He doesn't ever clarify that. Even not after he's like, or in his like POV, in his own thoughts, he's like, I say this, but I don't actually mean it. You know what I mean? He never clarifies. Like, this is generally what he believes. If she had not been a cold or a warm, because she ends up being a warm Omega, if she had not been a warm Omega, actually been cold and like boring and ugly, he would have R-worded her. He would have R-worded her. So to me, while I was reading this, I was super taken aback and confused because I feel like in the past, and I've read a lot of Ellie Hazelwood books, arguably, she makes a point of all of her main male characters to be very respectful. I feel like she does that. Well, maybe not respectful always, but they always care for the female characters, whether they're in their life or their mates, as it turns out. Like, they can be explicit in what they're saying, but they're never like, I'm gonna R-word someone. That's like a new low, in my opinion, for Ellie Hazelwood. And I don't understand why she did it this way. I don't understand what's supposed to be appealing of someone who's justifying like political R-wording to get further in his political endeavors. It's like, this is a war crime. With the dubious consent, maybe she was trying to cover that. You know, the warning that she gave on the website. But this is like a step too far, in my opinion. It didn't work. Like, to me, him wanting to R-word her for his own political gain is not dubious, like dubious consent or like morally gray or something like that. That's just like outright despicable and disgusting. And the fact that she actually went through with writing that and not like clarifying later, like, he just puts up a show, you know, so everybody thinks he's a... That's what I was expecting. That's what I... Genuinely. They also talk about, like, her being a virgin and him fucking all these Omegas and, like, how he is so experienced and always, like, a fuckboy and she's such a poor little virgin. I genuinely thought that maybe she was gonna turn around and be like, he's just acting that way so his political opponents respect him more, because men, you know? That's, like, typical Ellie Hazelwood. That's what she would have normally written. Never is it clarified. He just is a fuckboy and he just does want to R-word her, right? It's like, I was waiting for a turnaround and it never came. I was like, what the fuck am I reading? And especially if you think back on what it just says on the website, like, oh, alphas and omegas, and then you read this, that's like looking a little bit crazy. This is like wartime R wording, and it's being put off as like, oh no, it's not even put off, and I can't even justify it, and there's no reason to justify it because it's not justifiable. This character is disgusting, and the story is ridiculous, from the world building to this storyline. Like, that's what you thought of? What are the other stories like? I don't want to know. She is romanticizing this scenario to me. Like, him taking her on the first night. What if she had been a little ugly? You know? It wouldn't have ended the way this book does. But you're asking me, right? What happens? What happens now that he takes her, actually? Well, as I said, he figures out that she is not actually a cold omega, and that is why he, like, starts caring for her. She's also very willing to fuck him for some reason. She's like, just get it over with, like, just take me. But there's different things that come up in the story because the Larsons, like, are of course furious. Like, Gabriel took the bride from the Larsons' father's better son, and he's obviously furious, and this is like, he's attacking different parts of the stronghold, so Gabriel doesn't actually get to our word, the main character, because he keeps having to go to different places and fix other things. And so this rite of the first night turns into like the rite of the first 3 days or something. She, out of her own free will, decides to stay not just one night, but 2 or maybe 3, I think it's just 2, without them ever actually doing anything. As much as like kissing, they don't do it, but she feels for some reason like so safe in his quarters, and like it smells like him, and he smells so hot and sexy and protective because he's an alpha, of course, and she now isn't taking these suppressants that were suppressing her omega senses, so she feels like enticed by this alpha scent. I don't know if I would be able to enjoy sex anyway, and since I'm only here as a pawn in a game between 2 alphas, I understand that I cannot be afforded the privilege of being wanted for myself, but if my body has to be defiled, I'd at least hope for the defiler to enjoy the process. That's what she says to him, because she's like, okay, are you gonna take me now? Like, I hope you enjoy it. And he's like, hope I enjoy it. And she's like, yeah, like, I don't care. The fuck? She's like very nonchalant about the entire fucking situation, which is also something that I just don't feel like is realistic and typical for an Ellie Hazelwood character. Like, she is very bland in the sense that she's just like, she just takes everything that's thrown her way. Like, she does not have an ounce of resistance in her body, which is crazy to me. It's crazy. And I think that just adds to the fact that it seems it's like being romanticized what is happening to her, because she's not fighting back. So like, why should I, the reader, feel any type of way if she's not minding? She's not minding, and she's gonna get R-worded. At some point he also tells her that he killed some people, and he says they are now in Valhalla, which is like, so do they believe in Norse mythology? Just to like do a 180. Thousands of people might be more than one, but all their lives put together do not matter more than hers, is what he says. Like, after 1 day of hanging out with her, he wants to be with her forever. So after staying there for 2 days, she herself decides she should go back to Leonard, which is the better boy, her fiance. It's also made clear that he like made no effort to get her back. He sent his guards to pick her up in the morning, and then Gabriel was like, why the fuck didn't he come himself to pick up his bride? Like, he's such a pussy boy. That's Gabriel's words, basically. He would use pussy as an insult. Sends them back, and then later she's like, okay, like, I'm gonna go back, like, I have to talk with Leonard myself, blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, you can go back, but like, we have to make him believe we fucked because we didn't fuck. So his idea is just jerk it on her chest. Oh. Sorry, but I'm just realizing now how long I'm talking about this, but I really feel like it needs the time. Like, it needs the moment so you understand what the fuck this was. I lower both cups. My nipples are erect and puffy, surrounded by a pink flush. Would you like to touch them? Then he jerks it on her chest. They fill the room as he continues fucking his closed fist. Rope after rope of white liquid paints across my skin. Okay. So it basically smells like they fucked even though they didn't. Because otherwise, like, what's the purpose of invoking the right of the first night if he's not gonna R-word her? I feel like they could have just, like, maybe made that plan up from the beginning if this was an option, you know? Then after this is so hot, she goes, do you mind if I touch myself? This has never happened to me before, and it might not be happening again. They reveal to her that she has been taking suppressants after she returns, right? Lord Larson tried to sabotage some of the life support systems. He planned to pump poisonous gases through the air ducts, and we stopped his guards right as they started tampering with the filters. It's all over though. There's nothing for you to worry about anymore, which is like, why does he want to kill people? What is this political world arrangement? I don't understand. After this, and her finding this out, she then again talks to Gabriel, and he asks her like, how, and you're never gonna guess what happens next. Genuinely, it's insane. You thought this, like, the R wording was bad? Well, watch out what's gonna happen next. He asks her, Gabriel asks Sophia, he's like, how do you feel now that you know that these people who you thought were your family since your parents are dead were lying to you and were manipulating you just so you would marry their son because he's a bitch? Rage surges through me, blinding, brutal. For years I thought I would never have what I wanted. For years he stole from me. Voice shaking, I say, yes, yes, he deserves to pay for what he did to me. I hate him. He's a monster and I want to watch him suffer as much as I have. And I want him to feel like he's lost everything. But I don't want him to die. So, how can we... Oh, I don't even want to read it out. I feel nasty. How do we make this better boy pay for the fact that he's been lying to Sophia her entire life? Any ideas? Yes. Make them fuck in front of him. Make him a cuck. In my opinion, am I allowed to say this? I know what we were going for. I don't like it. I don't like this ever. Because he is like bound to a chair bleeding, like with a dagger in his chest or something. Not chest, maybe his leg or something. This is the first time Gabriel and Sophia do it. He's bound to the chair. He is forced to watch them. This is SA, in my opinion. Even though, of course, what he did was wrong. He was lying to her life, feeding her suppressants, everything. This is still SA. You know, people can do bad things and still be SA'd. Yeah. Again, sexual violence used as a tool, as a punishment. Just like the right of the first night was supposed to be. And this is also not included in the trigger warnings on the website. If you remember, dubious consent is mentioned. Is this dubious consent being S8, watching two people have sex? Especially because consent is also a big thing in her books, in my opinion. That's at least how I read them, right? People, like, characters being respectful, consent being explicitly given, and then she writes this? No one forced her to write it this insane. Look him in the eye, Sophia. Look Leonard in the eye while I get as deep inside you as is humanly blah blah blah. It is. My nails leave scratches deep in his forearms. No one's first time should be like this in these circumstances, but the pleasure building inside me is so violent I don't know how to make peace with it. My jaw was on the floor in a bad way the entire short story. It just feels like a very extreme turn from all of the previous things that I read from Ellie Hazelwood. If it had been any other author, I would have still called it out. Like, it's not limited to Ellie Hazelwood. Just because I don't fuck with her doesn't mean another author writing this would have made it right. Absolutely not. Like, I don't fuck with anything that happened in this book. It's all wrong. It's all insane. And the fact that you are not aware of what you're getting yourself into when you are pledging to this fucking Kickstarter that's like at least $40, and then you get to the story and you're reading it and all of a sudden he's talking about fucking her even harder and not being able to walk and like shredding her into pieces, and it's like, I thought this was like a little cute story like it usually is from Ellie Hazelwood. It's not. Yeah, and then they end on the council finally passing his bill to tax the rich, and they live together happily ever after. And sometimes they go outside when they can, you know, when the water isn't that high. So guys, let me know what you thought about First by Ellie Hazelwood. It's called First, right after first night, virgin girl, getting all worded. I hope you enjoyed this trilogy, guys. Let me know which of the 3 books was your favorite, which one you love the most. Yippee! Happy Halloween, and I hope that you have a spooky, happy Halloween. If you don't want it to be spooky, then don't have it be spooky. Like, who am I to tell you? Okay? The fuck? Let me know which costume was your favorite. Default Sophie, this is Default Sophie, or Vampire Sophie, or Werewolf Sophie. Which one do you want to see again? Make sure to comment it down below, and leave a like and a subscribe. Thank you, of course, to all of my members who are the best members in the world. All my boo-boos, all my book haters. Thank you so much for sticking with me And I hope that you particularly enjoyed this episode, just because I love you so much and I think of you every day. If there's anything you want me to read in particular and you need to have my thoughts on, feel free to comment it down below and maybe I will check it out in the future. Maybe. You know, who's to say I won't? Thank you so much for joining me in this Halloween special. I hope you guys stay happy, you stay healthy, peace and love, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video.